Lord, I'm appearing WP number 11641 of 2000.
Right, sir.
Lord, in this case, challenges to an order passed by the Board of Revenue.
That is annexure.
Annexure P7, Lord. This is dated 22/11/2011. By this order, Lord, the Board of Revenue has allowed the revision petition filed by respondent number 1, Lord. The order passed by the SDO, Lord, and the Commissioner have been set aside, Lord. And the order passed by the Tehsildar Assistant Settlement Officer that has been restored, Lord. Now, my revision petition, Lord, has not been decided, Lord, and it has been simply disposed of in the light of that order. There were two revision petitions, Lord. One filed by respondent.
एक छोटा सा question है, sir. Whether the grounds raised by you in your revision and why you filed, why there were two revisions?
Lord, I filed revision questioning the locus of the respondent to challenge the order passed by the SDO. That was my main ground, Lord, that he has no right or interest in the property, and therefore he has no locus standi to challenge.
Whether that aspect has been dealt with in the detailed order?
No, but it has not been dealt with at all.
Right, sir. Achha, chaliye, sir, what was the original dispute?
Lord, the original dispute is regarding, Lord, it arises out of an application filed under section 93, Lord, by respondent number 3 and 4. Lord. Now, that application was decided by the Assistant Settlement Officer, Lord, that is annexure P1, by order dated 7/4/1999. The dispute is regarding further batan between the owners.
Additional Settlement Officer, annexure?
P1.
P1.
Now, against this order, Lord, respondent number 2.
Date kya hai, sir, iski?
Lord, it is 7/4/99.
99, right, sir.
Now, against this order, Lord, respondent number 2 preferred an appeal before the SDM. That appeal was allowed by the SDM, Lord, by order dated 27/3/2006, Lord, and the matter was remanded to the Tehsildar, Lord, to carry out, Lord, this proceeding afresh.
27/3/2006.
That is an
remand. Then, sir.
Now, in compliance of the order passed by SDM, Lord, the proceedings were carried out by the Tehsildar, Lord, and finally the matter was settled between the parties. This is by order dated 13/11/2006. This is by the Tehsildar.
13/11/2006. So ये जो SDO का रिमांड ऑर्डर था वो तो इंटैक्ट रहा,
वो इंप्लीमेंट हो गया सर, हमारा कहना वो ऑर्डर इंप्लीमेंट हो गया, टोटली इंप्लीमेंट हो गया, सारी पार्टीज को सुनने के बाद तहसीलदार ने
अरे इंप्लीमेंट तो हो गया
जी,
वो चैलेंज हुआ था,
हाँ उसी को फिर चैलेंज किया,
चैलेंज हो गया तो इंप्लीमेंटेड ऑर्डर कैन नॉट बी चैलेंज, ये अपन सर्विस मैटर में तो सुन सकते हैं.
नहीं ये मेरा सजेशन नहीं है, बट आई एम पॉइंटिंग आउट ब्लॉट दैट द मैटर वाज सेटल्ड बिटवीन द
नो प्रॉब्लम.
नाउ आफ्टर लैप्स ऑफ मोर देन 3 years, this respondent number 1 files an appeal before the commissioner.
Challenge by respondent number 1 before commissioner. Yes, sir.
Lord, the commissioner allows the appeal, set aside the order passed by the SDM, Lord, and the matter is remitted to the SDM.
Remand to SDO.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, against this order, Lord, 2 revision petitions are filed before the Board of Revenue. One by the petitioners, my Lord, and the other by respondent number 1.
So, revision by respondent number 1 allowed?
My Lord. And no orders on my revision petition.
You're dismissed in that light, but no adjudicating your objection.
Yes. My Lord, annexure P5 is my memo of revision. If your Lordship may kindly have a...
नहीं मैं सर आप लोग स्टेज वाले हो कि आपका क्या हुआ माना जा सकता है विदाउट ड्यू वेरिफिकेशन सब्जेक्ट टू ऑब्जेक्शन बाय द अदर्स. तो अगर वर्मा साहब मानेंगे कि हाँ आपका ऑब्जेक्शन डिसाइड नहीं हुआ है तो उसको दूसरे एंगल से सुनेंगे
जी,
और अगर वर्मा साहब कहेंगे नहीं हुआ है तो उसको दूसरे एंगल से सुनेंगे. तो अभी आपकी बात को क्रॉस चेक क्यों करें?
इसी ऑर्डर से डिस्पोज ऑफ हुआ है सर.
सर क्या होता है हम लोग क्या करते हैं जब मल्टीपल अपील्स एक ऑर्डर से डिसाइड करते हैं तो सारे ग्राउंड्स डील करते हैं. इंस्टेड ऑफ डिक्टेटिंग द ऑर्डर इन ईच एंड एवरी केस सेपरेटली एक ऑर्डर कर देते हैं. और अगर आपका ग्राउंड डील हुआ है तो देन कॉमन ऑर्डर विल नॉट कॉज एनी प्रेजुडिस टू यू.
तो नहीं सर, मैं
अगर नहीं हुआ है तो
देखा तो है, लेकिन ये हमारी आपत्ति.
वर्मा साहब जरा इसको क्रॉस चेक कर लीजिएगा.
सर पहले मेरी आपत्ति देख ले सर. annexure P5 is my memo of revision. पेज 50 पर उन्होंने मेंशन किया सर.
पहले अपन की आपत्ति देख लेते हैं सर.
annexure P5 is my memo of revision. So Lordship may kindly come to Lord the grounds of revision. That is at page 31. Paragraph 2, Lord, this is my main objection, Lord, that he has no locus standi. He claims to be, Lord, the adopted son of Asha Rani, Lord. And
with regard to your right, the right of this Shamna Sharma, respondent number 1.
Yes.
So that was your objection that Shamna Sharma has no right or title in the property. He is not the son of Asha Rani.
And he, yes,
Lord. How it has been dealt with, sir?
No, this is, Lord, in my submission, Lord, it has not been dealt.
Sharma,
may kindly come to page 50, Lord. My revision petition, Lord, that was bearing number 329/PBR/2009. That was simply disposed of, Lord. Paragraph 10.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है, जो डिटेल ऑर्डर है उसमें अपने को देखना है.
देख लेते हैं सब,
उसमें बस देख के बता दीजिए. अगर उसमें डील हुआ है तो ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम.
मेरी आपत्ति जो है वो इनने लिखी है पैराग्राफ 5 में, राजेश वाधवानी और इनके उस लिखित तर्क में दर्शाया गया है कि दिनांक 27/3/2006 के आदेश के पश्चात सुन
पैराग्राफ, हाँ 4 का लिखा है आपका, निगरानी प्रकरण क्रमांक BOR का श्यामना शर्मा की अपील में पैराग्राफ 4 है। अनावेदक क्रमांक 7 लगाए 11 के विद्वान अभिभाषक द्वारा मौखिक एवं लिखित तर्क में पूर्ण ये आधार उठाए हैं कि श्रीमती आशा रानी शर्मा का कोई वैधानिक उत्तराधिकारी नहीं था।
सर पेज 46 पे उन्होंने,
हाँ मतलब वो क्वेश्चन था, अब इसको
46 पे the findings have also been given.
45 पेज।
ये सक्सेशन केस चला था भोपाल में, फिर travel to the High Court and ultimately it has been held as successor of Srimati Amsa. That judgment I will place on record.
Lord, I have already placed that on record. That is an
लेकिन लोग क्वेश्चन ये है सर,
difference.
अगर वो क्वेश्चन टेकअप हुआ है तो फिर तो उसकी हम करेक्टनेस पे चले जाएंगे, फिर हम उसको ये नहीं कहेंगे कि इट वाज नॉट कंसीडर्ड एट ऑल।
सर सक्सेशन केस चला था,
नहीं मैं वो नहीं कह रहा,
traveled up to this court and
कोई इशू नहीं, कोई इशू नहीं।
decided कि-
वर्मा साहब मैं तो पहले अपने जो किस एंगल से देखना उसको मैं नैरो डाउन कर रहा था। अगर वो क्वेश्चन डिसाइड हुआ है राइटली और रॉन्गली, फिर अब ये देखेंगे, अगर क्वेश्चन डिसाइड ही नहीं हुआ है तो फिर रिमांड की सिचुएशन बन सकती है।
इस पर सर डिवीजन बेंच का जो ऑर्डर है, डिवीजन बेंच का then matter traveled up to the apex court and the division bench has remanded the matter back to the single judge block to take a decision on a legal issue. That issue is involved, whether the order passed by the assistant settlement officer could be challenged in appeal before the sub-divisional officer who are at par, so far as the hierarchy is concerned. So that is the issue, that is the main issue.
Lord, that issue would also arise, my lord, when his locus to challenge that.
कोई बात नहीं सर, अपन देखते हैं ना, हर चीज सुन तो रहा हूँ मैं,
जी जी जी।
आप मत चिंता कीजिए।
नहीं मैं
अब लोकस के बारे में ये डिसाइड टच तो हुआ है
जी।
राइटली, वेदर इट हैज बीन राइटली डिसाइडेड और नॉट, अब उसको देखते हैं। अब आपका कहना है कि सक्सेशन का मैटर चला था,
ये तीनों ऑर्डर साथ हैं।
तो जो सक्सेशन का जो ऑर्डर है, वेदर इट इज नॉट अ जजमेंट इन रेम
ये सर ये जो ऑर्डर्स हैं सिंगल बेंच का है, डिवीजन बेंच का है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट का है।
विद रिगार्ड टू सक्सेशन।
ये इसी केस से
इसी में दिस
अभी
पिटीशन
अभी पहले मुझे ये क्वेश्चन तो डिसाइड कर सर, मैं कंफ्यूज हो जाऊंगा सर। सर हमारी थोड़ी लिमिटेड इंटेलिजेंस है सर, व्हाई डोंट यू एक्सेप्ट दैट? पहले के क्वेश्चन को डील करते चले जाएंगे सर।
ये सिविल डिवीजन में डिसाइड हुआ था,
मैंने लगा।
तो वो कौन सा सक्सेशन का केस चला था सर?
सर वो मैंने फाइल किया, रिविज डिफरेंस में है वो। दिस इज द ऑर्डर पास इन सिविल डिवीजन।
अरे सर
उसमें सक्सेशन में सिर्फ मूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी का डिस्प्यूट था।
ना क्वेश्चन वो नहीं, ऐसा हुआ क्वेश्चन है वेदर ही इज द लीगल हेयर एंटाइटल्ड फॉर टू सक्सीड द प्रॉपर्टी और नॉट।
उसमें स्पेसिफिकली बोला है फॉर सक्सेशन फॉर क्लेमिंग टाइटल ऑन द बेस ऑफ विल ही हैज टू इंस्टीट्यूट अ सिविल सूट। लॉर्डशिप में काइंडली सिमिलर दिस ऑर्डर व्हिच आई फाइल्ड सिविल डिवीजन नंबर 317 ऑफ 2014 दैट इज इन द रेफरेंस कॉलम।
Grant of succession certificate in favor of respondent number 1 would not entitle him to claim or assert any right or title in the immovable property of Srimati Asha Rani, nor would it come in the way of the petitioner in asserting, pleading or proving his right in respect of any dispute between the parties relating to immovable property pending before the court below. It is clarified that in such case, such issues are raised, the same shall be decided on the basis of assertion. नहीं सिविल सूट वाला कहाँ था सर? नहीं है सर।
सिविल सूट हो गए हैं सर, फाइल हो गए हैं, दे आर पेंडिंग बिफोर द कोर्ट।
अच्छा,
सिविल सूट में भी इन्होंने कोई डिक्लेरेशन नहीं क्लेम किया ऑन द बेस ऑफ विल।
अरे सर मैं उस पर क्या करूं, मैं मुझे मेरा कुछ भी बोलना वहां के लिए गड़बड़ हो जाएगा सर
जी।
सर्टिफिकेट सीआर रेफरेंस, ठीक है सर, सिविल सूट इज पेंडिंग
जी।
ठीक है सर।
वहाँ पे क्रॉस सूट है सर, इन्होंने भी फाइल किया और हमने भी किया।
एक काउंटर क्लेम है कि क्रॉस सूट?
सूट एंड बोथ आर पेंडिंग कंसीडरेशन।
बोथ पार्टीज हैव फाइल्ड है ना? जी नो सर।
Now, Lord, this is my first objection, Lord, that my objection regarding his locus that has not been decided by the Board of Revenue. Now, coming to the merits of the case, my Lord, the Board of Revenue has interfered with the order passed by the SDO only on the ground, my Lord, that an appeal against the order passed by the Assistant Settle Commissioner would not lie before the Subdivisional Officer.
What is wrong in that, sir?
My Lord, my submission is, Your Lordship, may kindly have a look at the language of Section 44. Assistant Settlement Officer, my Lord, is an officer subordinate to the Subdivisional Officer.
Just a minute, sir. 44.
40. Before that, your lordship may kindly have a look at section 11, my lord, which gives the hierarchy of revenue officers.
जी सर, जी सर,
My lord, this is the hierarchy in section 11, my lord. If your lordship would find, my lord, the assistant settlement officers are much below, my lord, the subdivisional officer. First is, my lord, commissioner, settlement commissioner, collector, settlement officer, then subdivisional officer. Then assistant collector is there, joint collector is there, deputy settlement officer, and then comes assistant settlement officer. Now he is an officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer. This is the hierarchy which is
सब डिविजनल ऑफिसर आ गया और ये असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर कहाँ पे है सर?
तीसरे चौथे उससे नीचे असिस्टेंट कलेक्टर आ गया, फिर जॉइंट कलेक्टर आ गया, फिर डिप्टी सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर, देन असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर.
सेक्शन 11 है.
सेक्शन 11 में 2018 की पहली वाली देखना पड़ेगा.
हाँ वो हो जाता है.
पुरानी वाली दोगे?
मैंने कोट किया सर पिटीशन में,
दे दो.
पिटीशन में कोट.
क्योंकि नए में सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर और असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर दोनों को अलग कर दिया.
वो पिछले मैं बार-बार देख रहा था उसमें.
सी होल्ड देख.
So these are these revenue officers.
These are revenue.
जी सर. जी सर.
So this hierarchy shows, my lord, that assistant settlement officers are subordinate to subdivisional officer. Now, your lordship, may kindly have a look at language of section 44.
वो पुराना ही वाला देखेंगे.
पुराना वाला.
जी सर.
Now, clause 1, my lord, clause 144 1A. If such order is passed by any revenue officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer, whether or not the officer passing the order is invested with the power of the collector to the subdivisional officer. So any officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer, my lord, whether he is exercising powers or Gee, I'm sorry.
एक वो मेडिकल टर्मिनेशन वाला होगा. जी सर.
So, my lord, this clause A, my lord, of subsection 1 of section 44 specifically provide that an appeal against any revenue officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer will lie to the subdivisional officer, even if that subordinate officer is exercising the powers of the collector or not. Now, here, my lord, my first submission is, my lord, that assistant settlement officer, my lord, as per the hierarchy shown in section 11, is an officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer. Therefore, an appeal would lie, my lord, to the subdivisional officer, and it was maintainable. Now, the Board of Revenue says, my lord, that this power to decide applications under section 93, my lord, that was initially conferred on the nuzul officers, my lord, by a notification issued in the year 1966. This is the notification dated 26th October 1966, my lord, that I have filed as an exception P10.
Notification dated
26th October 1966. सर ये इसमें बुक में से मैंने किया है, बाद में हमने वो पूरा नोटिफिकेशन भी अपलोड कर दिया है, वो रेफरेंस में है, ये बुक से हमने निकाला, एक्सट्रैक्ट इसमें मेंशन है, ये बीच में देखेंगे दिया अब ये so and so 1153302 dated 26th October 1966 on all deputy collectors working as nuzul officers in the state, the powers conferred on any revenue officer under section 2833 so and so 93. So this was conferred, my lord, power to decide cases under section 93 was conferred on the nuzul officers, equivalent to the rank of deputy collectors. Now this notification was subsequently modified, my lord, in the year 1995. And my lord, this power was conferred on the assistant settlement officers insofar as Bhopal is concerned. That is, my lord, your lordship, I have filed copy of that also, my lord. And detailed complete notification I have uploaded. This, my lord, on the next page, your lordship would find bottom. On all assistant settlement officers posted in district Bhopal, the powers of collector under section 93, 94 and 95.
The state government hereby confers on all assistant settlement officers posted in district Bhopal the powers of collector under section 93, 94 and 95. Yes, sir.
So, sir, earlier, my lord, this power was conferred on the nozzle officer, my lord, that is equivalent to the rank of deputy collector. But by this notification issued in the year 1995, this power has been conferred, my lord, it was conferred on the assistant settlement officer.
Yes, sir.
Now, my lord, the Board of Revenue has misdirected itself by saying that since the earlier power was conferred on the nozzle officers equivalent to the rank of deputy collectors, therefore, this order, my lord, the order on except Q1 will also be treated to have been passed by deputy collector. And therefore, no appeal would lie to the SDO. This is the reasoning which has been adopted.
Whereas according to you, by notification of 1995, the powers were already conferred to assistant settlement officer.
So earlier notification gets repealed, my lord, by implication if the power is delegated to some other officer. And that delegated power of the, it is not a delegated, my lord, it is conferment of.
Conferment of.
There is no delegation as such, my lord, the power of the collector to decide application under section 93, that was conferred on the assistant settlement. And assistant settlement officer, my lord, is an officer subordinate to the sub-divisional officer. Therefore, appeal was maintainable.
Yeah, how the commissioner has dealt with this?
Lord, the commissioner did not deal with, my lord, the Board of Revenue has dealt with.
Okay, sir, Board of Revenue.
Paragraph 6, my lord, page 47. Annexure P7.
Page 42.
47.
Page 47.
Yes, paragraph 6. अब बोर्ड ऑफ रेवेन्यू ने ये एनालॉजी ड्रॉ की कि पहले वो नुजुल ऑफिसर को दिया गया था जो कि डिप्टी कलेक्टर के रैंक के थे, इसलिए असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर का आदेश भी जो है वो डिप्टी कलेक्टर द्वारा पारित आदेश माना जाएगा। सर मैं पढ़ देता हूँ, उसमें जरा रीजनिंग की। आवेदक एवं अनावेदक क्रमांक 7 लगायत 11 के अभिभाषकों द्वारा प्रस्तुत तर्कों के संदर्भ में अभिलेख एवं आदेशों का अवलोकन किया गया। स्वयं एवं माननीय उच्च न्यायालय द्वारा इस आशय का न्यायिक सिद्धांत प्रतिपादित किया है कि भारतीय संविधान के अनुच्छेद 226 एवं 227 के अंतर्गत राजस्व मंडल को संहिता की धारा 50 के अंतर्गत निगरानी में माननीय उच्च न्यायालय की रिट याचिका के समान अधिकार प्राप्त। Now he compares, my lord, his powers under section 50, my lord, with the extraordinary writ jurisdiction of this honorable court under article 226 and 227 both. So, समान अधिकार और यह विवादित आदेश ही नहीं वरन अधीनस्थ न्यायालय के समस्त आदेशों की वैधानिकता एवं नियमितता पर विचार कर सकता है। यदि पॉइंट नहीं भी लिया तो भी कंसिडर कर सकते हैं इनका कहना। माननीय उच्च न्यायालय द्वारा प्रतिपादित उपरोक्त न्यायिक दृष्टांत के प्रकाश में इस प्रकरण में पारित समस्त आदेशों की वैधानिकता पर विचार किया जा रहा। संहिता की धारा 93 के अंतर्गत भूमियों के बटान की शक्तियां कलेक्टर में वेष्टित की गई। धारा 24 के अंतर्गत शासन द्वारा जारी अधिसूचना क्रमांक सो दिनांक 22 दिसंबर।
डेलीगेशन का क्या मतलब होता है या कंफर्मेंट का क्या?
सर
है तो डेलीगेशन ही ना सर।
नहीं, डेलीगेशन नहीं।
93 तो जो है स्पेसिफिकली स्पीक्स अबाउट पावर्स ऑफ कलेक्टर, तो वो जो है 93 में अमेंडमेंट नहीं है। By notification, this power has been conferred or delegated to the subordinate officer, to officer other than collector. That power, what would be the effect of that power, sir? Whether अब एक क्वेश्चन उठता है क्योंकि अगर जिस ऑफिसर को डेलीगेट किया गया या कन्फर किया गया, he subordinate to collector, तो क्या कलेक्टर उसकी अपील सुनेगा, which otherwise should have been exercised on his original jurisdiction?
सर यहाँ डेलीगेशन नहीं, यहाँ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट अंडर सेक्शन 24(1) has conferred the power of the collector
24(1)
of the MPLRC.
24(1)
State government under section 24. इसका भी ओल्ड सेक्शन देखना पड़ेगा 2018।
जी मैं पढ़ देता हूँ।
सर सेक्शन 24 का जो है, जो ओल्ड एक्ट है सर, इसको जरा पढ़ना पड़ेगा सर।
सर मैं पढ़ देता हूँ। The state government may confer on any person the powers conferred by or under this code on any revenue officer. तो
Subsection 2, subsection
The state government may confer on any assistant collector, tehsildar or naib tehsildar but the powers conferred by this court on a revenue officer of a higher grade.
24(2) के हिसाब से नोटिफिकेशन सही है क्या?
Powers of collector can be conferred to any revenue officer subordinate to him. As
नहीं
per
नहीं,
subsection
24(1) में एनी पर्सन है,
any person.
वहाँ पब्लिक सर्वेंट नहीं लिखा, इसमें पब्लिक सर्वेंट आ गया है,
इसमें पहले अभी बात वाले
अभी बात वाले, पहले एनी पर्सन था, मतलब प्राइवेट पर्सन पे भी जा सकता है। आप उसको क्लैरिफाई करिए पब्लिक सर्वेंट पे।
and subsection 2 is very clear.
The state government may confer on any assistant collector, tehsildar or naib tehsildar the powers conferred by this court on a revenue officer of a higher grade.
But 2 would not be applicable, my lord, 1 would be applicable.
Sure, sir.
24(1), my lord, these notifications have been issued under section 24(1). Now 24(1) specifically says, my lord, that's the powers of the revenue
चलो
officer.
ठीक है साहब, इसकी वैलिडिटी है नहीं तो हम काय को उसमें आएंगे और हम क्या इसमें करें। सर मुझे 1 मिनट दीजिए, ऑर्डर साइन कर दूं।
Sir. Any revenue officer.
अरे यार ये भी इसको वो तो दे दो, अमेंडमेंट तो कर ले, तो रख लो ना यार फाइल, मैडम उसका प्रिंट निकाल कर दे दीजिए मेरे को, फाइल की क्या जरूरत है। जी चलिए सर, तो आपका कहना है कि वंस द पावर वर कन्फर्ड ऑन असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर, देयरफॉर इट कैन नॉट बी प्रिज्यूम दैट ही वाज एक्सरसाइजिंग द पावर्स ऑफ द नजूल ऑफिसर।
नहीं सर,
तो जो इसने लिखा है,
इन्होंने ये लिखा है कि जो 66 की अधिसूचना है
हाँ?
उससे जो है नुजुल ऑफिसर को पावर दिए गए थे, और जो 95 का नोटिफिकेशन उसमें असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर को दिए गए थे, इसलिए यह माना जाएगा कि असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर वही अधिकार एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं जो नुजुल अधिकारी को दिए गए।
वर्मा साहब अपेरेंटली तो नहीं लग रहा ठीक,
सर वो मैं फिर से पढ़ देता
और मैं कह दो ना ठीक नहीं लग रहा।
हूँ। अच्छा आई एम सॉरी, मुझे लगा
ये ठीक तो नहीं लग रहा है, ये जो रीजनिंग है सर, सब्जेक्ट टू आर्गुमेंट्स बाय यू। चलिए सर फिर आगे।
सर इसमें मेरा ये कहना है सर, सेक्शन 44 ये स्पेसिफिकली कहता है कि यदि सबऑर्डिनेट ऑफिसर है, इवन इफ ही इज एक्सरसाइजिंग द पावर्स ऑफ कलेक्टर, देन आल्सो द अपील वुड लाइक टू द एसडीओ, even if he is invested any officer subordinate to the subdivisional officer, even if he is invested with the power of collector or not, the appeal would lie to the SDO. Now the power to decide case under section 93, that power is conferred by the act on the collector. Now this power has been conferred by notification issued by the state government on the assistant settlement officer. Assistant settlement officer is an officer subordinate to the SDO, and therefore the appeal was very much maintainable before the SDO.
चलिए सर जी जी।
Now, my lord, this order passed by the SDO, my lord, was also implemented. There are hundreds of houses, my lord, which have already been constructed. People are residing there, my lord, they have settled themselves. Now, in the subsequent proceeding drawn by the tehsildar, it was found, my lord, that about 0.33 acres of land is short. And therefore, my lord, the tehsildar had reduced proportionate area from the holding of all other persons. There are hundreds of persons. Now, if the order passed by the assistant settlement officer is now maintained, that will reopen everything. Everybody would be affected, my lord. Everybody.
We are least concerned.
Now, legal point is this. Firstly, my lord, he had no locus standi, my lord, to challenge the order passed by the SDO. My lord, his appeal before the commissioner itself was not competent, and therefore revision also should not have been entertained. Secondly, my lord, this reasoning assigned by the Board of Revenue
With
that
regard to
SDO, my lord, was not competent to hear appeal, and therefore the order is set aside, my lord, that also is incorrect.
बस इतना है?
जी सर, वो हाँ वो मैंने बता दिया सर, वो हमारा ऑब्जेक्शन इसमें दिखा नहीं हमको, और
नहीं
साहब बता देंगे हम।
ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं लिखा, कोई बात नहीं।
नहीं लिखा है तो उसको कंसिडर नहीं किया हमारा, उन्होंने आर्ग्यूमेंट और ये सब लिखा है कि हमारी आपत्ति की इनको लोकस स्टैंडी नहीं है, ये आशा इनका कोई राइट नहीं है प्रॉपर्टी में, इनकी कोई
अच्छा सर, फिर ये रिमांड हुआ बाय डिवीजन बेंच ना?
ये सर इनिशियली माय पिटीशन वाज डिसमिस्ड on this reasoning only, my lord, that appeal was not competent against the order of assistant settlement officer. The appeal was not maintainable before the SDO. I preferred a writ appeal. In the writ appeal, my lord, this division bench directed, my lord, that this question as to whether, my lord, under section 44 an appeal would lie against an officer subordinate to the SDO, even if he is exercising the power of collector or not, my lord. Therefore the matter was remanded. That order, my lord, is I stand audition.
सर वकालतनामा में से वो फोन नंबर देख के उनको बुलवा के करो। हाँ चलो जी सर, सो दीस आर योर टू ग्राउंड्स। जी सर,
ये रिमांड हुआ था डिवीजन बेंच ने इसी ग्राउंड पे कि 44A का स्कोप कंसीडर नहीं हुआ।
ठीक है
44 में अपील वुड लाई नॉट अगेंस्ट एनी ऑफिसर सबऑर्डिनेट टू द एसडीएम।
करेक्ट सर। जी वर्मा सर।
But this fact is not under dispute, that this land is situated within the urban area. This fact is not under dispute. And for that purpose, Lord, section 92 and 93 are relevant. Lord, section 92 and 93, Lord, that says the provision of chapter 2 applied to the land in urban areas. Then directly I'm coming to section 93, Lord. That says the power of collector to divide lands into plot numbers. This power has been exclusively given to the collector. Subject to rules made under this code, the collector may divide the lands in an urban area into plot numbers and recognize existing survey numbers as old numbers, reconstitute plot numbers.
श्रुति अपना अग्रवाल सर, whether this land is within that urban area?
अर्बन एरिया।
It is in urban.
So ये
93 में कलेक्टर को पावर है और यही पावर जो है कन्फर की है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ सेक्शन 24(1) टू द असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट। उसमें 93 स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन्ड,
जी
93 स्पेसिफिकली मेंशन्ड।
ठीक।
Lord, this fact is not under dispute that this land is within the urban area. And therefore, Lord, the provisions of section 93 would be applicable. Secondly, Lord, that Lord, this section 24, Lord, that says, Lord, kindly come to section 24 first, Lord, then I will refer the notifications. That power under section 24. Yes. Lord, section 24, well, the old section, Lord. Save is. Not section 24, not the previous provision, not. The state government may confer on any person the powers conferred by under this code or any revenue officer. The state government may confer on any assistant collector, tehsildar and nab tehsildar the powers conferred by this code on a revenue officer of a higher grade. Means, Lord, this power has been given to the state government to confer the powers of any revenue officer to any person, Lord. Secondly, Lord, this settlement was going on. So during the course of the settlement, these proceedings had taken place because the settlement was completed not thereafter. So, Lord, therefore, Lord, this power has been given under section 93 to the collector because it is situated within the urban area and the settlement was also going on. Therefore, Lord, the notifications were issued sometimes in 1966 and which has been read out by my learned friend, and thereafter in 1995. Lord, his contention is that he misunderstood the provision of misunderstood the notification of 1966, saying that the powers of the deputy collector and the Najul officer are the same as of the assistant collector. Lord, he has not read the complete order, Lord. I may kindly be permitted to read that order because this, Lord, this Board of Revenue has interfered not only on this ground but on other grounds also.
एक ग्राउंड को सारा डील करेंगे ना, फिर दोबारा रिमांड ना हो जाए।
Because the person, Lord, who died, he was not substituted. LRs were not substituted. That point has also been taken into consideration by the court. And thereafter,
अपन पहले इस
I will come to that point.
अपन पहले
I would like to refer this.
इसको नोटिफिकेशन वाले
Paragraph 6 again, Lord.
Okay.
And thereafter, Lord, both the notifications have been referred in this back. आवेदक एवं आवेदक 7 से 11 के अभिभाषकों द्वारा प्रस्तुत तर्कों के संदर्भ में अभिलेख एवं आदेश का उल्लेखन किया 1986 और न्यायालय द्वारा मिला। Yes. Then directly I come to the 7th line. माननीय उच्च न्यायालय द्वारा प्रतिपादित उपरोक्त न्याय दृष्टांत के प्रकाश में इस प्रकरण में पारित समस्त आदेशों की वैधानिकता पर विचार किया जाए। संहिता की धारा 93 के अंतर्गत भूमियों के बटान की शक्तियां कलेक्टर में विस्तृत की गई। धारा 24 के अंतर्गत शासन द्वारा जारी अधिसूचना ये 22 दिसंबर 66 द्वारा धारा 93 की शक्तियां नजूल अधिकारी के रूप में कार्य डिप्टी कलेक्टर को प्रदान की गई। मध्य प्रदेश राजपत्र अपराध दिनांक 7 अप्रैल 95 दिस इज रेलिवेंट में प्रकाशित अधिसूचना क्रमांक दिनांक 27/1/95 द्वारा मध्य प्रदेश भू राज्य संहिता की धारा 93, 94 एवं 95 that 93 that power can be exercised by the collector only, and for that purpose the conferment has been made by the state government not in favor of the assistant settlement officer. शक्तियां सहायक बंदोबस्त अधिकारी को बंदोबस्त के दौरान प्रदान की गई। इस प्रकार स्पष्ट है कि दिनांक 7/4/99 को सहायक बंदोबस्त अधिकारी द्वारा बंदोबस्त के दौरान नजूल अधिकारी के रूप में डिप्टी कलेक्टर, ये उनका ये कहना कि पहले भी डिप्टी कलेक्टर्स को दिए हैं पावर्स, इसलिए ऐसा माना जा रहा है कि ही इज दैट पावर। बट एज पर द हायरार्की, आई एम आल्सो कमिंग टू दैट पॉइंट. As per the hierarchy, that has been given the name of the assistant collector below the sub-divisional officer. That is not under dispute. That is not under dispute. But the question is, or not, and whether the under section 44, the appeal would lie to the settlement officer.
वो तो जो आपने इंटरप्रेट किया वो तो ठीक है।
और सेक्शन 44 पे भी हम आपको बताते हैं। सेक्शन 44
ये कैसे कह रहा है कि इस प्रकार स्पष्ट है कि दिनांक 7
इसलिए कह रहे हैं कि 1966 में
66 अब 66 अगर वो रिपील हो गया बाय इम्प्लीकेशन तो 66 को ये कैसे रेफर कर रहे हैं?
सुपरसीडेड
या रिपील हो गया, सुपरसीड हो गया, जो भी कह लीजिए पर अभी 66 को कैसे रेफर करते हैं?
Is 66, so he is referring in that context.
अरे किसी भी
But
कॉन्टेक्स्ट में
ultimately he is relying upon 1995.
95 में ये कहते हैं क्योंकि 66 में नजूल ऑफिसर था इसलिए इसको भी नजूल ऑफिसर माने।
उसमें से उन्होंने कहा कि he is relying upon 1995 circular.
इस प्रकार स्पष्ट है कि दिनांक 7/4/99 को सहायक बंदोबस्त अधिकारी द्वारा
बंदोबस्त
बंदोबस्त के दौरान नजूल अधिकारी के रूप में डिप्टी कलेक्टर की शक्ति का प्रयोग करते हुए, ये कैसे है सर?
Then Lord 1995 circular that has also been referred.
That has been referred.
Yes.
और उसमें तो फिर आपका ये तो असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर आ
Now,
गया।
that is there. And
इन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर हायरार्की के हिसाब से नजूल ऑफिसर है या एसडीओ है। इसने ये कहा है कि चूंकि पहले नजूल ऑफिसर के पास ये पावर था, अब चूंकि असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर के पास आ गया तो इसलिए असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर भी नजूल ऑफिसर की पावर एक्सरसाइज कर रहा है। अगर ऐसा कहना है तो ये तो फिर कलेक्टर की पावर एक्सरसाइज कर रहा है, ये तो अभी कमिश्नर के ऑफिस से जानी चाहिए।
also one of my submission in this matter.
वो आएंगे, अपन आएंगे। तो
Because
ये जो एक्चुअली ये जो थोड़ा सा आई वाज मिसकंस्ट्रूइंग द आर्गुमेंट्स, एक्चुअली वैसा नहीं है। ये है कि इसने कहा कि चूंकि पहले नजूल ऑफिसर के पास था इसलिए 95 के बाद भी इसको नजूल ऑफिसर ही माना जाएगा।
ऐसा कहा.
कैसे हो
ये गलत
सकता है? ये तो गलत है।
But Lord, directly we come to that point, Lord, that in 1995 circular,
हाँ,
that power has been conferred upon the assistant settlement officer.
हाँ,
Now the question before this honorable court, that the order of 1999, the first P1, that has been passed by the assistant settlement officer. Whether the appeal would lie to the sub-divisional officer.
that is the only question.
Yes, that is only the main question, Lord. As per section 44, Lordship kindly see section 44 and the old provision
हाँ,
for a moment.
जी।
Lord, this says, Lord, save where it has been otherwise provided, an appeal shall lie from every original order under this code to the rules made thereunder, if such order is passed by any revenue officer subordinate to the sub-regional officer, whether or not any officer passing the order is invested with the powers of the collector to the sub-regional officer. Then, Lord, B, if such order is passed by the sub-regional to collector, that is not.
ये तो अभी बन के ही लगेगा।
G, directly I am coming to 44, 1C.
हाँ,
If such order is passed by any revenue officer subordinate to the settlement officer,
हाँ,
So my respectful submission in this plot, that this order was passed by the assistant settlement officer in any his capacity, either on conferment of powers or in his original jurisdiction. But not this says ki 44(1)(c) says ki if the order is passed by the any officer subordinate to settlement officer, then the appeal would lie to the settlement officer. And as per section 44, Lord, this appeal would lie to the settlement officer, but it will not lie to the
SDO.
sub-divisional officer. And secondly, Lord, the order which was passed by the sub-divisional officer, that was not challenged by them. It was challenged by one neighbor farm. He challenged that order. They did not challenge that order. The order which was passed in 1999 in our favor, that was not challenged by them. It has been challenged by one Satyanarayana Yadav. Lord, on 7/4/99, Lord, the order of the settlement officer was passed. Then, Lord, on 27/3/2006, Lord, the SDO has set aside that order in appeal, and that appeal was preferred by Satyanarayana Yadav, not by them, on the ground, Lord, that he has not been noticed and he has not been given opportunity of hearing and all that on that ground. So, Lord, that order was passed by the SDO, and the SDO has set aside the order of the assistant settlement officer and remanded the matter back to the Tahsildar to pass a fresh order. Then on 13/11/2006, Lord, the Tahsildar passed an order. Now, Lord, this person, Shyamdar Sharma, Lord, who is this son of Asha Rani Sharma, Lord, he filed directly, Lord, the appeal before the additional commissioner, Lord, on many grounds. And one of the grounds is that his mother has already died, but no efforts were made for substitution of the legal representatives in her place. That was also one of the grounds. And that ground has been considered not only by the additional commissioner, but the Board of Revenue has also considered that also. And thereafter, Lord, the matter was on this ground also. The matter was remitted back to the authority to take a fresh decision. The direction was issued to the SDU that you bring all those persons on record and thereafter proceed in this matter. And thereafter, Lord, 2 revisions were filed, one by them and one by us. And that has been decided by the Board of Revenue. Now, Lord, if we go through the order of the Board of Revenue, Lord, the Board of Revenue has interfered, Lord, first on the ground that during the pendency of this case, Srimati Asha Rani, mother, she expired, and no efforts were made by the other side to bring legal representatives on record. And therefore, Lord, the order against that person is nullity. So, Lord, and she expired, Lord, on 6/2/2005. Whereas, Lord, the order of the sub-divisional officer, that was passed, Lord, on 27/3/2006, undoubtedly after the death of Srimati Asha Rani.
Asha Rani died on
6/2/2005.
SDO को ऑर्डर है
27/3/2006.
27.
27/3/06.
So SDO order was against the dead person.
Yes. That is also one of the grounds not taken in by us. And on that ground has been considered in detail. And thereafter the findings have been given. Secondly, my lord, there was no appeal by the other side, Mr. Madhwani, who is the petitioner here, my lord. That was the appeal filed by one Yadav, respondent number 2. Respondent number 2. He preferred that appeal. So there was
Before
no,
SDU.
yes. He did not prefer. They directly, my lord, filed the proceedings before the Board of Review. Because I preferred the appeal before the additional commissioner. So the order which was passed by the assistant settlement officer, that has attained so far as the finality is concerned. Because they did not challenge it. That
अगर एक
was
order set aside हो,
that was at
order अगर set aside हो गया है, तो क्या piecemeal में होगा
the
क्या?
I respectfully submit that they did not challenge.
No problem, sir. I'm trying to appreciate your evidence argument. Suppose if an appeal is filed by A, and on the basis of that appeal, the entire order is set aside, not qua A, then we can understand. Had it been that qua A is to set aside, हम लोग कई बार करते हैं, कि भाई, है ना? So then we can understand that it will remain in force so far as the others are concerned. But if the entire order is set aside, whether
It was set aside as a that the court has an additional commissioner and the Board of Review. They have also given the findings that they are having different lands. Their khasa numbers are also different. That is on merit. The merit has also been decided in this case by the authorities, saying that they purchase a different land, we purchase a different land, and the land of the Satyanarayana is different. Therefore, unnecessarily they are poking their nose in.
And sir, अभी एक question है. Suppose if the appeal filed against Asha Rani had abated,
Yes.
whether the entire appeal would abate or the appeal against Asha Rani would abate. एक कुछ क्वेश्चन आएगा. सुनिए सर. अब ये जो थे आपके जो पार्टी है श्यामला शर्मा जी, वो तो चूंकि आशा रानी जी के थ्रू मांग रहे हैं, तो दोनों सिचुएशन में आशा रानी जी के खिलाफ ही अपील तो चली जाएगी, प्रोवाइडेड ही इज ट्रीटेड टू बी द लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ आशा रानी. तो अग्रवाल साहब, अब आप ये बताइए whether there can be an order against a dead person, and if that is so, once one of the respondent had expired, and if her alas were not brought on record or her name was not deleted, है ना, या तो आप डिलीट कर देते कि that she has died without leaving any record.
सबमिशन ये है, पहला प्रश्न ये उठता है कि आशा रानी की राइट्स के लिए ये कैसे आएंगे? He has no right
कुछ
to
नहीं कहना चाह रहा सर.
Now, secondly, my lord, the property of Asha Rani has already been estimated in favor of the state government. So state government becomes, my lord, the person, my lord, who can contest the property. That property.
सर
ये
सर मुझे तो इतना पता है कि या तो उसका नाम डिलीट होता या उसका एलआर आता.
As against that, my lord, Asha Rani would abate, my lord. Would abate. Her rights would be protected as.
But what will happen to the civil suits which have been filed?
It is pending, bro.
What will happen? Suppose if the civil suit filed by Shyamna Sharma is allowed, then what will happen to this?
Lord, Shyamna Sharma has not filed any suit for declaration of his title, my lord, over the land belonging to Asha Rani. He has simply filed a suit for injunction. Now that suit for
In
injunction
respect of
without
which property? In respect of which property?
property is the same, my lord, of Asha Rani.
हाँ.
But he is only claiming injunction. Unless and until
सर प्लीज, अगर अब आप मेरे से इस पे भी इन्विटेशन देंगे तो मैं होल्ड कर दूंगा where the title is not in dispute and simpliciter suit but injunction is maintained.
titles is disputed, my lord. We are
अरे सुन तो लीजिए.
जी.
Whether I will not be encroaching upon the jurisdiction of the trial court to adjudicate that question.
I would not invite that.
मैं इसीलिए बार-बार कह रहा हूँ सर कि भाई मेरा a single word here and there will cause irreparable loss to the party against whom that verdict would go. And whether it is warranted at this stage where the matter is yet to be decided by the trial court under the orders of the High Court or the liberty granted by the High Court.
That will be adjudicated by that.
हाँ नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से भी वही होना चाहिए. Whether the title is in dispute or not, वो देखेगा, written statement देखेगा.
Locus की भी जो बात कर रहे हैं, that
सब कुछ हो जाएगा उस पे.
will not be
But here the appeal was decided by SDU. अच्छा, दूसरा question अग्रवाल साहब. As per 44(1)(c), the appeal would have been made, should have been filed before settlement officer. What is your submission?
Yes, but only in a proceeding of settlement. These are not settlement proceeding, Lord. These are proceeding under section.
Settlement was going on.
No, it was not going on, Lord. It is.
By the court.
It is section 93 proceeding, my lord, for division of land into plots, my lord, giving separate plot numbers. This is 93 application. Several persons have purchased property, my lord, out of a large chunk of land, and they were getting, my lord, their lands divided, and separate plot numbers was required to be given. That proceeding has been done under section 93. The lordship may see section 93. It deals with only division of plot. It is not settlement.
95 में जो circular है उसी में mention है कि settlement की proceedings हैं.
सर अगर 93, अच्छा 93, हाँ ये अपन देख लें सर, वो
ठीक है,
नोटिफिकेशन जरा देख लें 95 का क्या कहता है.
ये मैंने
हाँ वो है, आपका है सर. Sir, इसमें
Lord, may I read this?
sir, just a minute, sir. Or hereby confers on all settlement officers posted in District Bhopal the powers of collector under 93, 94 and 95. इसमें settlement proceedings पर कहीं नहीं लिखा हुआ है.
वो दूसरा ऐसा ये साइड जो असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर का उसके बाद है, असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर का सेपरेट है.
वही तो पढ़ रहा हूँ. Confers on all assistant settlement officers.
All assistant settlement officer posted in the district Bhopal, the powers of the collector under section 93, 94 and 95. अब फिर settlement officer के अंदर officer.
इसमें इन्होंने ऐसा कुछ भी वो नहीं किया कि सेटलमेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स है क्या है. 93 की जो भी प्रोसीडिंग्स है वो असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर के पास आ गई. तो अब यहाँ पे 44(1)(c में सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर को जाएगी. The orders passed by subordinate in settlement proceedings will lie to settlement officer. ऐसा नहीं है. इसमें 44(1)(c में है. If order is passed by any officer subordinate to the settlement officer, to the settlement officer. That is all. What would be the nature of that proceeding? That has not been clarified by in 44(1)(c. Once the power has been conferred to assistant settlement officer, then he is a subordinate to settlement officer.
So that will.
Why
Submission would be, the assistant settlement officer was exercising the powers of the collector under section 90.
मैं आपसे वही कह रहा हूँ. मैं वही कह रहा हूँ.
ये सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर
अग्रवाल सर जो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा है मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर रहा हूँ. अगर हम 44(1)(c को नोटिफिकेशन के साथ देखें तो 44(1)(c में ये नहीं लिखा है कि any order passed in a settlement proceedings by a subordinate officer will lie to settlement officer. वहाँ पे नेचर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स 44(1)(c में नहीं लिखा है. डेजिग्नेशन लिखा हुआ है. Now some power has been assigned or conferred to assistant settlement officer by designation. अब वो डेजिग्नेशन पे आएंगे 44(1)(c में, since it has not been made, it has not been restricted to settlement proceedings only. तो जो भी ऑर्डर वो पास करेगा इधर जाएगा.
If such order is passed, such.
समझ में कह रहा हूँ.
1A यदि देखें उसमें ये स्पेसिफिकली लिखा है कि any sub officer subordinate to the subdivision officer whether invested with the power of collector or not. Now here my lord, the assistant settlement officer has been invested with the power of the collector.
ठीक है.
Here 44(1)(a) would apply. It is not an independent settlement proceeding. Your lordship is correct. So, clause C does not deal with an order passed in settlement
proceedings.
That word is not there. But my lord, when the power is being exercised, the power of
नहीं सर उसका नहीं है. मैंने आपने ध्यान दिया होगा, मैंने क्वेश्चन पूछा था अगर कलेक्टर का पावर जो सबऑर्डिनेट को दे दिया है तो क्या कलेक्टर उसकी अपील सुनेगा. मैंने पूछा था आपसे. मेरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर यहाँ पे है 44(1)(a) में. वो मेरे क्वेश्चन का आंसर है ना. लेकिन दैट डजंट मीन कि साहब असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर को भी हम कहें कि नहीं तू ये पावर कर रहा है.
Ignores 44(1)(c.
मैं भी कह रहा हूँ क्योंकि देखिए अगर 44(1)(c) में कोई नेचर ऑफ प्रोसीडिंग्स को क्लैरिफाई किया होता तब हम वर्मा साहब से कहते हैं कि वर्मा साहब 44(1)(c is confined to these proceedings only, and so far as the other powers are concerned it is appealable and appeal would like to SDO under 44(1)(a). यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन है कि यहाँ पे कोई प्रोसीडिंग्स नहीं मेंशन्ड है, डेजिग्नेशन मेंशन्ड है. मैं उसको ये कह दूं कि जब वो सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर सेटलमेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स करेगा तब तो वो असिस्टेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफिसर कहलाएगा, नहीं तो वो नहीं कहलाएगा. यही कहना पड़ेगा मेरे को. उसके लिए फिर मैं क्या रीजनिंग दूं ये बताइए.
रीजनिंग ये कि सर 93 के पावर कलेक्टर को है ये कन्फर किए हैं तो
शासन ही तो कर रहा है ना. सब गड़बड़ियां.
वर्चुअली ही इज एक्सरसाइजिंग द पावर्स ऑफ द कलेक्टर. मतलब ही इज
चलिए सर ठीक है समझ गया. और सर सो शांति Asha Rani had already expired during the pendency of appeal. Reasons assigned by BOR or holding the appeal as not maintainable are not correct. Now the question is appeal would lie before SDO or before settlement officer. That is to be decided.
सर पहला मेरा सबमिशन ये कंसीडर कर लें कि इनका लोकस क्या है. इनका लोकस मतलब to question the order passed by the SDO my lord. That locus is not there. The order was passed my lord against Asha Rani my lord. Asha Rani has better legal heirs. They have not come forward. He is claiming my lord right over the property of Asha Rani on the basis of will my lord, which has not been put to test at all till date. He has not been declared owner.
I don't know sir. ना तो वो सिविल सूट मेरे सामने है ना कुछ है.
सर ये लोकस
अग्रवाल साहब मैं कैसे हवा में डिसाइड कर दूं.
बोर्ड ऑफ
आपने सिविल सूट की प्लेन्स फाइल किए हैं.
नहीं बोर्ड ऑफ
Pilots allow me to make just one submission.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Malos, there is also an FIR, not a FIR, a criminal case against Shamnath Sharma, and 482 was also dismissed by the Highcourt.
Sharma sir, dismissal of 482 does not mean that he stands convicted. The scope of 482 is completely different because there the uncontroverted allegations are to be taken note of. This cannot be taken note of. Now, ultimately, if he is convicted in trial, then yes, we can take note of that. But merely because FIR is there and 482 was dismissed, that will not lead to a conclusive conclusion that he had committed any offense. What I am saying, dismissal of 482 doesn't mean that he stands convicted. This is what I am saying. That means
but the fact is that the allegation of forged will is open. He cannot say it's a will. That-
Sharma sir, as I made it clear that I would not like to comment upon the suits because any observation, any line here and there will cause irreparable loss to the party against whom that line would be mentioned. So I will not touch the civil suit except by saying that the civil litigation is pending. Both the parties have filed the civil suit against each other. Both the parties have filed criminal cases against each other. They will be decided by the respective courts as per the evidence which would come on record. Because I have to confine myself only to the question as to whether the appeal filed before the SDO was maintainable or not, and whether Shyamna Sharma had any locus to claim the property of Asha Rani. And third, whether the appeal pending before the SDO had abated on account of death of Asha Rani, because no steps were taken either to delete her name or to bring her legal representatives on record. And what